Section 1. A walk down memory lane. Micheal walked along the beach. The sand was cool and soft beneath his feet. The salty air filled his lungs. He closed his eyes, remembering. This beach held 1,000 memories, most of them happy. He thought of his parents, their laughter echoing in his ears. A wave of sadness washed over him. It had been many years since the accident. Micheal was alone now. He missed his parents terribly. Their absence was a gaping hole in his life. He longed to hear their voices again, to feel their love surround him. He stopped at a familiar spot. It was their spot, the place where they built sandcastles and flew kites, the place where his parents taught him to swim. He knelt down, pulling out a smooth grey stone. It was the shape of a heart. His dad had given it to him on his 10th birthday. Micheal held the stone tight. He wished he could turn back time. He wished he could have one more day with them. He wished he wasn't so alone. Micheal reached into his other pocket. He fingered the cold metal of the ring. It was a simple band, engraved with swirling patterns. It was old, passed down through generations in his family. The ring held magic, the power to alter one's age or others. A family secret passed down thought generations. Micheal always thought it was just a story until just before her death. His mother shown him how it worked. Micheal wanted to recapture his more innocent days. The crowd of people on the beach wasn't so bad today. Children played in age groups. One small group of toddlers were playing naked. Sunbathers laid on towels, with some of the women even going topless, ducking into a changing tent, using a bit of string. He made a small necklace with the ring as the pendant part. Grasping the ring, he thought about the toddlers looking so carefree and innocent. The ring powers started working, his clothing quickly becoming baggy and oversized. Micheal stepped out of his swim trunks to see a child's lower half. He pulled his shirt over his head and hairless chest greeted him. He was a boy again. No longer man or teenager he'd been seconds ago, as his age dropped to single digits. Micheal put the string necklace part over his head. He was a naked toddler now, with the ring hanging from his neck. Micheal blinked a few times. The world seemed so much more bigger, brighter somehow. He looked down at his hands. They were small, chubby. He giggled. He sounded like a little kid. He looked around for a spot to hide his clothing. He dug a hole in the sand under the changing bench and stashed his clothing there along with his personal belongings. Stepping outside of the changing tent, he saw the toddlers. They were building sandcastles, laughing and splashing. Micheal felt a tug of longing in his chest. He wanted to join them. He wanted to feel that simple joy again. He stumbled towards them, his legs wobbly. He giggled again, the sound unfamiliar but not unpleasant. A little girl with bright blue eyes looked up. She smiled. "Hi," she said. "Do you want to play?" Micheal nodded eagerly. He felt so strange being naked among these children, but outwardly he was a toddler as well. But right now he didn't care. All he knew was that for the first time in a long time he felt happy again. Minutes turned into hours of fun. Micheal revelled in the simplicity of childhood. He built sandcastles, dug up seashells, and splashed in the waves with his new friends. He felt a sense of belonging he hadn't realized he craved. For a while, the pain of his parents' loss receded to a dull ache. A shadow fell over Micheal's sandcastle. He looked up. A boy, taller and older than the others, stood over him. He had a mean look on his face. "What do you think you're doing?" the boy sneered. "This is my beach." Micheal frowned. He didn't like bullies. The beach was for everyone, Micheal said firmly. "No, it's not," the boy said, pushing Micheal roughly. "And that's my sandcastle now." Micheal landed hard on the sand. His eyes welled up with tears. He didn't know how to fight back in this toddler body of his. He wanted to run and hide, to disappear. "Leave him alone or I tell our parents, Jason." The little girl with the blue eyes stood beside Micheal. Her chin was raised, her voice firm. Jason just laughed. "Stay out of this, Lily," he warned. "This doesn't concern you." Section 5. The Price of Power. Lily stood protectively in front of Micheal. Her eyes met Jason's, unwavering. "You're being mean," she said. "It's not fair!" Jason scoffed. He shoved Lily aside, sending her tumbling into the sand. "I leave him alone when I take that ring of his." Jason said, his eyes locked on Michael's chest. He reached for Michael, his hand outstretched. Michael closed his hand around the ring, bracing himself. Micheal couldn't use its power to make himself older. A naked man or teenager suddenly among a group of nudist children wouldn't look right, just when thought about making himself Jason's age. Jason snatched at the ring, his stronger fingers prying Michael's toddler fingers open. The children had gathered in a circle, blocking the view of the adults from seeing the drama unfolding. One woman saw the struggle through a gap. She had been a mother once, but her toddler son had died in a tragic accident. She started walking toward the children, seeing the older boy fighting a toddler. Children these days had no shame in picking on weaker kids. "Give it up, you're just a crybaby," Jason said, his fingers feeling the metal of the ring on his fingertips. At the same time, Michael told Jason that he was a toddler. The changes happened fast, just as the string snapped. Jason got younger, and his swim trunks fell down his legs. He let go of the ring to grab his trunks as kids giggled at his exposed penis. They knew older kids felt embarrassed about being naked. Michael looked down at his hands. They were getting smaller and younger. The woman arrived in time to see a toddler Jason and a little baby, Michael. Section 6, Lost and Found. The woman, Sarah, had seen the transformation. The toddler who had been a bully was crying now. Sarah wasted no time and scooped up Michael if she was his mother. Sarah's eye saw the ring and picked it up as well. She stored it in her shorts pocket. Sarah marched away quickly to avoid any trouble. Whoever his parents were would be in for a shock to find their bully of a son turned back into a toddler. Sarah thought the girl standing up for the toddler might have been the bully's sister. They looked so much alike it wouldn't surprise her if they were related. Michael didn't know what to think. "I've been a naked, helpless baby on the beach, then, like an angel, this woman appeared and picked him up along with his ring." Michael was thankful to be taken away from the area as they disappeared into the crowd of beachgoers. Michael also wondered, was he being kidnapped? Sarah was sure she was far enough away and ducked into a changing tent. She sat baby Michael down on the bench. "My name is Sarah." "Do you understand me?" Sarah said with a gentle tone. Michael nodded. "This ring, it's magical, isn't it?" Sarah asked. Micheal nodded again. Sarah put on the ring. She imagined the baby before her back to his toddler self. Michael grew before her eyes and he was back to being a toddler boy again. Section 7, A World Without Laughter. Sarah smiled down at Michael as he put his hands over his most private part. "Tell me everything. How old you really are and why you are pretending to be a toddler." Sarah said, her voice now stern. Michael confessed the truth. The loss of his parents, years of being alone, where he stashed his stuff, and even telling her about the heart-shaped stone he cherished. Sarah was in tears by the end of his confession. Was it fate that brought them together? Sarah thought. He lost his parents and she lost her son. "I believe you," Sarah said and wiped at her eyes. Michael, feeling more at ease, reached out a small hand and grabbed hers. He asked her what was wrong. Sarah told him that she had a toddler son. Sarah described her sweet little boy and the terrible accident that took his life. It had been nobody's fault, just a series of events that ended in a tragic loss of life. Police, medics, and those close to Sarah had said so. Michael stood up then and hugged Sarah. Sarah burst into tears then. Sarah clung to Michael, feeling his warm skin and embracing him with her eyes closed. It was then that Sarah felt like a heavy burden had been lifted from her heart. Section 8. A Promise to Keep. Sarah regained control of her emotions and shared a smile with Michael. "Would it okay with you if we spend the rest of the day together?" Sarah asked him. Michael told her yes, and Sarah seemed to radiant happiness. The first thing they did together was get some ice cream. Much to Michael's delight, since the cones looked so big now. Sarah took great joy in watching him eat. Old memories of her own son, no longer so painful to recall. A quick dip in the ocean water and Michael was clean again, taking the long way back around by the sidewalk. They returned to the changing tent Michael had used to stash his stuff. Sarah neatly folded his swimming trunks and shirt. They went to her car next. Sarah placed his things in the car's trunk. Then Michael watched as she opened up boxes filled with toddler-sized clothing. Michael was blushing when she put some pull-up diapers on him. Sarah pulled a shirt over his head next, then had him step into some cute overalls. Michael struggled to find the words. These were her son's clothes. Feel like going to the park next? Okay, Michael said in answer. Michael found himself strapped into a car seat in the back of her car. A short drive later, they arrived at the park. Section 9. Facing the mirror. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the playground. Michael had spent the rest of the day at the park with Sarah. Michael's little body was so tired now. Sarah carried him back to the car and took him to her home. Micheal had fallen asleep on the drive to her home. He awoke only when Sarah lifted him out of his seat, then carried him into the bathroom, much to his own embarrassment and joy. Sarah undressed him, then removed her own clothing. She filled the tub with bubble bath water and took her time washing him, then herself. Michael peeked at her a few times until she turned him around to face her. She picked him up and sat him on her lap, her bare chest in full view. "I don't mind if you stare at me, little man." "I know how curious little boys can be," Sarah said. Sarah then tickled Michael a little, making him squirm with joy at her playfulness. They forgot about their shared nudity and simply enjoyed each other's company. They stay in the warm water until it got a little too cool for their tastes. Sarah dried him off first, then did herself. She then led to her son's old bedroom. The room looked untouched for the most part. She then dressed him in some dinosaur PJs. Sarah told him to wait here. Michael was checking out some of the toys when Sarah returned, now fully dressed herself. She led him out the living room and put on some cartoons for him. Michael found some cartoons he liked as Sarah prepared dinner. She soon served him a child's meal and sat down beside him to enjoy her own food. As the night went on, Sarah asked Michael if he liked to go or stay the night. Michael, feeling very sleepy now, told her that he would stay the night. Section 10. A New Dawn. Michael awoke slightly confused at first. He was in a child's bedroom, then the memories of yesterday came rushing back. The woman, Sarah, a kind and gentle woman, had saved him. It was still very early morning, and there beside the bed on the little side table was his ring. Just under a child's nightlight, a new string tied around it. Sarah had left this for him. Michael noticed his adult clothing was hanging on the back of the door. It'd been washed and dry, by the look of it. No doubt he'd find his car keys and wallet in the pockets. Thankfully, Michael had stayed dry as he removed his toddler clothing. He decided to make himself a little older. He put on the adult shirt which hung on his child body like a nightgown. He wanted to see Sarah before he left. Michael thought the guise of a child was far better than a strange man in her house. Sarah was awake and dreaded the sound of the front door opening then closing. She really wanted to see Michael off, but part of her wasn't sure what he thought of her. Was she just some crazy, grieving mother who practically kidnapped him for a day for her own selfish reason, Sarah thought. A figure appeared in her doorway. It was a child, wearing an oversized shirt, maybe 8 or 10 years old. "Morning, Michael." Sarah said, relief he hadn't just left without a word. She noticed he wore his ring around his neck. He took a deep breath before speaking. "Sarah, I wanted to thank you for such a wonderful day yesterday. I think I have fallen in love with you. I understand if you don't feel the same way." Michael said, waited for her answer. "Yesterday was a good day for me too, Michael. You helped me heal. I feel the same way about you. How about you make yourself older and join me?" Sarah said shyly, and revealed she was wearing nothing under those covers. Michael grinned and reached up to his ring to make himself back into adult.